Okay, so let's go now. We are in Siman Kuf Chaf Ches. So Siman 128 about the dinim of Elul, and this is the third shir. So let's go. We're up to Siv Gimel. Anshe Maisa Noyagim Livdoik Bachodesh Hazet Tfilin Umezuzah Shalahen. People that are like to do good things. Anshe Maisa. So they have a minig that they check their mezuzahs, their tefillin and their mezuzahs during this month of Elul. Why does it say noyagin that it's a minig? How often do you have to check a mezuzah? Anyone know?
Once in 7 years.
7 years, twice.
Twice in 7 years? What?
Everybody shout.
We're like, oh. Yeah.
No. So officially, according to halacha, mezuzah you only have tefillin. Actually, officially, you never have to check unless you have an issue. Tefillin is twice in mezuzah twice in 7 years. If it's a mezuzah of a shul or something, then it's actually 50 years. But here there is those that will check it. The minig is to do it now during Elul. Now, which one? Public mezuzahs are what?
Twice in a year for one.
I think it's twice. No, I think it's once in 50 years. The difference is, I don't want to get distracted, but the difference is that basically when you know what they teach you when you learn first aid. Anyone learn first aid over here? What do they teach you if you're trying to help someone and you need to call 911? What do you do?
Oh, shoot.
What do you do?
Well, you're out.
No, you say you call 911. Why do you say
Why?
why exactly? So if you have a mezuzah and a shul and you say the mezuzah is to be checked every year, what's going to happen? 1 year everyone's going to be excited about it, and then the next year is going to say, oh, he probably did it, and it's never going to happen. So if you do it twice every 50 years, I think it's twice 50 years, so you have someone that will take care of it. Yeah, it's a little hard to hear what's going on here. Yeah. So let's read right a little bit further, and I think you'll have your answer, and we'll come back to you soon. So he says like this: the next words in the Kitzur is B'chol asher yimatzei sham bedek b'shar mitzvahs. Anything that has, anyone heard the expression bedek habayis? Bedek habayis is about the Beis Hamikdash, but it's talking about the way they would upkeep the Beis Hamikdash. Exactly. So here too, anything that needs upkeep in all mitzvahs, this is the time Yitaknai to fix it. Now, why do we do that? Obviously, because you want to go into the new year of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, with a clean slate and doing everything properly. So one of those things would be to fix your mezuzah. Now, let me ask you a question. We know that the Rebbe said that we try to get the mezuzah checked every single year if you can, right? So this year I'm not checking, but next year, God willing, I'll be able to check all the mezuzahs. Why every year if the halacha doesn't say that? He writes, he doesn't. But that's the next thing. So, but why is that? Why is that something that's why would you do it every year if the halacha doesn't say that? So someone asked the Rebbe that. Is it Mishra said it happens to be when you check a mezuzah, you could actually it gets ruined a little bit. Meaning every time it's letters that are written. Every time you open it, it's better not to, especially the older they are and the drier they get. It's really better to leave them as is if you can. So why is it? Someone wrote to the Rebbe and they said, why are you changing what it says in halacha? It says in halacha twice every 7 years. So why are you changing that? So the Rebbe, first it wasn't the Rebbe's thing. The Rebbe quotes in the Magen Avram, which is based on this halacha, and it comes from, if you notice by you, I don't know if you have it, it quotes also from a sefer called Mata Ephraim, which is a sefer on Elul and Tishrei, that the Rebbe used to quote all the time, and it's basically a source of the halachas of Elul and Tishrei. So, over there, they all mention you should do it every year, and the Rebbe says two practical reasons why. Number one, the Rebbe says is that it's not exactly, they don't make the cloth the way they used to make it. Meaning like this, if you ever see an old Torah, they're very big and heavy. If you look at the newer Torahs, they're whiter, they're smoother, they're much lighter. They process the parchment differently. And therefore, the Rebbe says, you have to check them more often because the better parchment, I don't know if it's better, it's probably better for usage, but it happens to be that it impacts the ink that's on it, and we see sometimes that they don't last as long. So therefore, you should check them more often. And number two is a more this is not a consistent yearly thing, but this is just a push in general to check mezuzahs more often. The Rebbe says, unfortunately, we see many times that we check the mezuzahs inside, and there's big issues. In other words, it used to be mezuzahs or kosher. You were just checking to see if it got ruined. Now, unfortunately, we see that there are many unscrupulous mezuzah dealers or safras dealers. It means not proper, and they're selling things that are not. So I know someone called me up and they said, I got a mezuzah for $25. I said, great, let's get you the mezuzah parchment. She goes, no, I just need a parchment. I have a mezuzah. I said, no, you don't have a mezuzah. You have a case. But he goes, no, it came with something inside. I said, okay, I could take a look at it, but I can tell you it's not kosher. And you go to look at it, and it's either a photocopy or is written by, you could tell this, unfortunately, yeah, they had stories where Arabs were writing it. Not good. So nowadays, for whatever reason, it could be they're selling it just as like, when you buy a picture frame and it has like a stock photo. Maybe that's what it is. The point is, people don't know that, and they actually have things that have major issues inside. So therefore, the Rebbe really pushed that it should be checked a lot more often. Bechlal, you were mentioning about why Elul. So we know that in Elul, it's a time that we're supposed to, like we said, fix things that need to be fixed. And the Friedrich Rebbe was describing the way Tamimim used to prepare for Rosh Hashanah during the month of Elul. And he explained that they would have 2 or 3 chavrusas would sit together and they would learn Maimarim for Tishrei. They would learn it 3-4 times together. Or he says actually Kamapam many times. And this was part of preparation for Rosh Hashanah and things like that. So these are all things, you look for things that you could fix. And you also increase in things that you could do to have a better Tishrei and be able to connect with it a lot more. Okay, Siv Dalet. Yeah, good. Siv Dalet. What? Siv Dalet. B'Shabbos shala'achar Tisha B'Av, from already starting from the Shabbos after Tisha B'Av ule halon and going forward, maftirim b'sheva Shabbosles shiva denachamta. So you have 7 haftarahs of nechama, of consolation. So you have in the 3 weeks you have what's called shleisha, the haftarah of Puraniyos or Puranusa, which are basically the 3 haftarahs that are the nevuah, the negative, the harsh nevuahs, let's just say. And then as a comfort, Hashem has the next 7 weeks that are after, where Hashem comforts us. Why 7? You always have to have more, so it doubles over, I guess, in good. And that's the way it is. The Rebbe has a whole sikha where he discusses exactly, there's actually a flow where Hashem says that I'm going to comfort you, and then the Yidden complain and they say, we don't want the Malach to comfort us, we want Hashem to comfort us. And then this past week we read Anochi Hu Menachemchem, that Hashem says, okay, I will come and I will comfort you, and then the Yidden are comforted. There's a whole sequence of a conversation that's happening. But the point is that leading up from after Tisha B'Av, Hashem goes on a campaign, if you will, of comforting the Yidden from the trauma of what just happened on Tisha B'Av. So therefore, like this year we didn't have it. A little bit actually we did, but we'll see soon. Now, what happens if Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos? So now we know, and we'll get here, we'll see this in Hanukkah as well, that the Haftarah always is going to match the Maftir. Yeah, the Haftarah that you're going to read is always going to match the last reading that you did. So for example, if you have a Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, so you read a whole parsha, the last thing you read was about Rosh Chodesh, and what's the Haftarah? On Rosh Chodesh. Let's say Shabbos Chanukah, where you're going to take, if it's Rosh Chodesh, you'll take out 3 Torahs, yeah? So that means you're going to do Shabbos, then you're going to do Rosh Chodesh, then you're going to do Chanukah, and what's the Haftarah going to be? Chanukah. So you're always going to do the Haftarah of the last thing. So over here, if it's going to be Rosh Chodesh, so you're going to have to, what comes first? Do the Shiva Denachamta, which are the special 7 comfort ones, or Rosh Chodesh? We don't know. So the halacha says like this, that Doichin Aniya Soyara, we actually will push off the 7 one that week's the 7, the one that you're supposed to do, which is called Aniya Soyara, that we're coming from Aniya, like a poor person, we're asking Hashem to help us. Umaftirin, and instead we do the Haftarah of Hashemayim Kisi, which is Rosh Chodesh. Now, why do we switch it? We need comfort. The Yidden need to be comforted by Hashem. So he explains, because the truth is, Hashemayim Kisi, which is the Haftarah for Rosh Chodesh, also talks about comfort of Yerushalayim. So it's appropriate to read it then also. So what do you do about Ani Asayara that you just skipped? We just forget it? We don't do it? So the halacha says like this, that Shabbos Parshas Kiseitze, when it comes to Parshas Kiseitze, Sha'az Maftidin Rani Akara, which one of the 7 comfort ones is the Haftarah of Rani Akara. So mashlimin oleha gam ani asayara. So you double up. You'll do ani asayara, you'll do a Rani Vakara, and then you'll do ani asayara right after. I think right after. Why is that? Because she's smuchala. Because if you look in the actual Navi, they go together. In other words, you're not going to take a Navi from whatever Yeshaya Perek Beis and then go to, I don't know, let's say Yirmiyah, whatever. But over here, ani asayara actually follows Rani Vakara. Rani Akara. So therefore, you could read them together, and it's not like you're changing anything. You're just reading a longer Haftarah. So perfect. We could do the 1 week where it's supposed to be Nechama of Rosh Chodesh, Hashemayim Kisi, which also has this thing, and then we could also do Aniyah Seira later. We're not losing out anything. Perfect. Now, the Shabbos Rish Chodesh. So what happens if you make a mistake on Shabbos Rish Chodesh Elul, and you do the wrong one? So you do the one that was supposed to be a regular Shabbos of Aniyah Soira. So if you don't finish your brachas after, so great. Yomer Gam Hashemayim Kisi. Add after that, right away jump to the one that has to do with Rish Chodesh, and make the bracha after that. What happens if you don't remember till after you finish everything? So then you should say the one for Rish Chodesh without brachas. So in other words, we want you to mention Rish Chodesh. It's connected to that day. So we want you, to do it. So if you didn't say the brachas and you said the wrong one, fine. Just finish off and continue reading Till Shemayim Kisi. If you said the brachas, do it without brachas, because at least you should read it. Now that wasn't this year. That was actually last year, I think. It fell out this way. But what was this year? This year was that V'imchol Rish Chodesh Elo B'Rishon B'Shabbos. Now what happens if Sunday is Rish Chodesh? So what do you know if Sunday is Rish Chodesh? What's the Haftarah for Shabbos? What? Machar Chodesh. You do a different one, which has to do with Machar Chodesh, with David and Yehudison, where he wanted to know if he had to run away, and his place was missing from the Rish Chodesh table Seuda by King Shaul. So that's why we read it then. So what happens if it's Sunday, which is Erev Rish Chodesh? So you're supposed to do Machar Chodesh. Yeah, so says the halacha, over here, we don't change anything. Doichin Haftarah Machar Chodesh, you don't read Machar Chodesh. Why not? She'im ba menachamas Yerushalayim. It doesn't talk about the Nechama of Yerushalayim. And these 7 weeks are special for Nechama. So we skip Machar Chodesh, and we don't do it, and instead Maftirin Aniyah Soira. Now, our meaning is slightly different. Chabad has a unique minig. If you go to the bottom vav, where it says, "U'meisifin pasuk rishon va'achron shel haftarah machar chodesh." What we do is, anytime there's a haftarah that's connected to the day that we're not reading, we always will read and add the first and last pasuk. For example, Shabbos Rish Chodesh Chanukah. The haftarah is going to be, like we said, which one? Chanukah. But we're going to add the first and last pasuk, either of Machar Chodesh or Hashemayim Kisi, depending on what it is. We'll always add the first and last, and sometimes you can even add both. For example, if it's a 2-day Rish Chodesh, I don't know if Chanukah could be, if Tevis could be a 2-day Rish Chodesh, but assuming it could be, you would do the Haftarah for Chanukah, plus first and last pasuk of Hashemayim Kisi, and first and last pasuk of Machar Chodesh. So again, I don't know if that particular time it does, but there are other times that you do that where you read 2 psukim, one from the first from the first Haftarah, one from the second Haftarah. Good. Okay. Any questions so far? We're good to go. That was for the Gabain. That's an important one. Yeah.
What is like, if first day of the Elul is on Shabbos,
Mhm.
Chodesh Elul is on Shabbos.
Yeah.
So we need to add the days of Chama for the Haftarah. But on Rish Chodesh, we do the Haftarah last week.
Correct.
Do Rish Chodesh.
Right.
So we answered that you should do both.
No, really, you don't read both. Really, you just do Hashemayim. You just do Rani Vakara. And the one that you're missing, which is called Aniyah Soira, you'll do that one later. You do the one for what I say, Rani Vakara. No, I'm sorry. You do the one for Rish Chodesh. Just Hashemayim Kisi. Later on, 2 weeks later, when you're going to do the one of Rani Vakara, so then you'll add the one that you missed of Aniyah Soira, because they're both together. It's the next perek, right in the Navi of Yeshaya. It comes right after, so it's no problem. You just continue reading. So because we could do both, we'll do both. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, follow up, or you're good?
That Haftarah starts Kay Amar Hashem. So why does
Hashemayim Kisi, yeah.
Yeah, why is it Kay Hashem Kisi the Kay Amar Hashem? That's what I have to
It
start.
could be there's other haftarahs that start with Kayam Hashem, so it's the only way of recognizing. I'm not sure, but it's a good question. You made it on.
Is it because it's until Rosh Hashanah, or is it because of the Dalia?
Great question.
I don't think it's because it's Rosh Hashanah specifically. I think it's because when you recognize the devastation that the Yidden had from the Churban, it needs a lot more consolation than what happened. And think about it. Till today, we're still in Golos from then. So it's as much as we can get, we can get. In general, the Gemara always describes it, and everywhere, that there's meruba mida toiva mida paranius. That the measure of good always has to be better than punishment. So if you had, let's say, 3, then you have to do 6 at least. Like, for example, Miriam waited for Moshe by the water for 7 days. So when she got it, so she got whatever she got back, but they waited for her 30 days, whatever. Yeah. So she waited for him for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and they waited for a week, and whatever. And Aaron, the same thing. In other words, whatever the midah that is applied for the punishment, we at least double it for good. So over here, if the punishment was 3 weeks, right, the 3 weeks of what we call the 3 weeks, so you have to have at least double that plus for good. Yeah, Menachem.
What does it mean? You said before the only reason that we're doing that if you do the wrong Haftarah, then you continue, then you do another one later, and then you do Aniyah Sarah later. What does it mean you do the brachas, the after brachas? What does it mean that if you're ready to do the brachas?
Yeah, so you do the brachas before and after. So if you didn't do the brachas after, so you're still in the middle of Haftarah season, so it's no problem. You could read the one that you're supposed to read. If you already did the brachas after, so you closed it. You can't make another bracha now.
The problem, you do the brachas before, like if you started the brachas, can you just?
No, the brachas before for sure you did, but then the brachas are just that you're going to read from the Navi now, so you could read whatever you're reading. But if you made the brachas after, then you closed it already. So, but because we want you to do Hashema and Kisi and not lose out, so do it anyways, even though it's going to be without brachas, right? Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So you got,
Aniyah Sayara, yeah.
and that would be just if it wasn't, if Travis was not on Rosh Chodesh.
Right. That's the one that you're supposed to do on the regular Shabbos right before Elul would have been Aniyah Sayara, which is what we did this year. But if it would have been a day, and what did we not do? We didn't do this year, we didn't do Machal Chodesh, which is what we would have done the rest of the year. The rest of the year, if Rosh Chodesh is Sunday, then you do Machal Chodesh and Shabbos. But we didn't do that this year. We stuck to Aniyah Sayara. Last year, when Rosh Chodesh was on Shabbos, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, I think it was last year. So we did Hashema and Kisi. And the next week, 2 weeks later, I think it was, we did Rani Akara, and then we continued reading in the Haftarah straight through Aniyah Sayra, so you read 2 Haftarahs in that week. Okay, we'll have to stop here, but we're getting there. We're moving along slowly. You could talk.
We have 40 minutes to live.